What is up, everybody? Hello, and welcome back to yet the Zombie Chris podcast. If you're listening to this, thank you for listening. If you're watching this over on our YouTube channel, thank you as well. On today's topic, we're going to talk all about Halloween Horror Nights Us announcement. Yes, that's right. I'm going to talk all about my thoughts about it, why I think it's probably one of Universal's most important announcement this season, and we're going to talk all about the hate that it received. All that on this little bonus episode of Zombie Chris Podcast. So stay tuned for all of that.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a body by the toe. If he hollers, cut him low. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yes, so Us was announced by Halloween Horror Nights, and I'll just let this out there right now. I kind of knew this was coming, maybe, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before it was kind of announced. I was told by a source, a friend, and I kept it full secret. I knew this was coming. I think some other folks knew this was coming, especially because Nightmares talked about this was, coming. And they even put up a poll, I think, and they put Us as one of the choices. And so we learned that if you looked at the rumor map, that the original maze of Tooth Fairy was not going to be coming. It was gone. So sorry, we don't get to see what their version of Knott's already, done the maze before of Tooth Fairy. Doesn't mean that it won't come back again, because Halloween Horror Nights has a way of using things that they may have had one year and they alter it or change it around for another year. So doesn't mean it won't come back. We might see it again, who knows, down the line. So it was replaced with Us, and now we have yet another IP. So I think this makes one of the biggest years with the most IPs. There's only 4 originals, and I'm assuming it was supposed to be 5 IPs, 5 originals. But with Us kind of taking the realm, I kind of hope that this is not a late sort of switcheroo type of thing. Like, hopefully they weren't already building Tooth Fairy and now they got to convert it to Us, like we had back when we had the Purge house kind of revamped from what was supposed to be Scream at the time. And you can sort of tell going through that house, it was meant to be obviously Scream. You can pinpoint a lot of things that they utilize in that maze. So hopefully it's not that type of scenario going on with this announcement. Now, why I think this is probably one of the biggest important announcements I think Halloween Horror Nights has made this year. With Stranger Things, people, knew that was coming back. People knew from last year wasn't very much important on scale, even though Stranger Things is really huge, but, we all knew it was coming back. Killer Clowns, we all knew was coming back. Ghostbusters is pretty huge, but the reason why I'm saying Us is sort of the biggest announcement demographic wise, if you look at what Us has done, this comes from Jordan Peele, and Jordan Peele has only had 2 movies out. Already he's featured at Halloween Horror Nights, yes, because it's a Universal picture and it was kind of easy to get the film, but Jordan Peele is a master of horror cinema already, but he's a master at pulling in a particular an urban or a black audience into horror films. And if you know, I've talked about horror and how it's done with the urban audience and how we're not usually ever featured to be the most important character in a horror film, or how we really don't have really too many kind of black horror central characters or central stories told. And so Jordan Peele has always, noted that he's going to always have that sort of be at the forefront of his films, at least casting wise. Maybe not always story wise, but casting wise, it will be. So for us, I believe this is going to pull in the demographic of a black audience that has never probably took too much of an interest in Halloween Horror Nights before. Because when you think about it, like I said, maybe they might saw The Exorcist and thought that was cool, or Freddy or Jason, but this is something that the black audience has, really funded and went to go see it and talked all about it. And this is from Jordan Peele, a black director. So I really see this being sort of how Stranger Things was bringing in the audience of more so with kids and younger audience. I see this kind of doing that with the black urban audience demographic. So that's sort of a big area for Universal to tap into for Halloween Horror Nights that they haven't tapped into before. Now, box office wise, Us did phenomenal. On a budget of $20 million, opening weekend, it grossed $71 million. So already made its budget back. Plenty, obviously. And then domestic total, once it pretty much wrapped up from box office, was $175 million. Again, on a $20 million budget. So pretty insane. The movie was widely popular, and be that as it may, a lot of people maybe are decisive. Some people really liked it. Some people were so on it, but the numbers don't lie. This movie made lots and lots and lots of money. So for the one person that stated this movie wasn't even popular, why is it coming to Halloween Horror Nights? Yeah, it pretty much was. I mean, it was much talked about, really majority of good reviews about it. And obviously box office wise, it was a success and back-to-back successes for Jordan Peele. So that's why it's coming to Halloween Horror Nights. It was an easy sort of, Universal picture for them to grab, but as well as it was pretty widely popular film. And I don't see how anyone can say this is not make a good house, or it doesn't translate well to Halloween Horror Nights, or it's unbelievable, or it's unreal. Case in point, how many times have you went through a house and it's a ghost, or it's the Purge characters, or, it's Freddy or Jason? What makes that any more believable than the movie Us, with folks running at you with scissors or snipping at your ears, or the Fun House, which a lot of people are like, I guess they're not foreseeing how this house translates into a maze, or this movie translates into a maze. And it's all right there, everything that goes on at her house with the invasion, the Funhouse stuff. And if they don't have the owl being an actual animatronic scare, that would be amazing for them to pull that off. The mirror scene, obviously, Halloween Horror Nights is no stranger to mirrors. They do that all the time. And just all the different characters, and maybe towards the end you're going to get out and it's going to be like, this vast amount of mannequins holding hands, and you kind of have to walk through them, and one of them's real, one of them's fake type of thing. I can see them sort of doing a scare like that at the end. It would be kind of cool. And also, does this ring a bell? Yeah, that music. A movie does something right when it takes something and makes it terrifying. Like Leatherface makes the chainsaw terrifying. Jason makes a hockey mask terrifying. Freddy, with the knives and dreaming and sleeping. Jaws with, water and just the theme song of Jaws himself coming out. This movie does exactly that with that song, you can't hear that and not get creeped out or not think of the movie Us. So kudos to Jordan Peele or whoever came up with that idea. And I can definitely hear that going on throughout the house, or at least in certain parts you're hearing that. It's going to be pretty creepy in my retrospect. Now, on to the hate. Now, the hate on this, I don't get it. I know some people out there were like, I don't really see the hate, but as soon as this was announced, I saw multiple people on my timeline and also the timeline under the post from Universal themselves of folks hating this announcement. They're just like that boring or why or meh, which I love when people do that. MEH, meh. Which I don't understand at this particular event where we have 10 houses. Yes, 10 houses. If you don't like this one, you can skip it. You have 9 other choices to go to. So I don't see why people would jump to hate before even going into the maze. First of all, because I guess you don't have the knowledge and appreciation that you would come to expect that Universal is going to try to knock this out the park. After you go through the event and you go through the house and it sucks, or if it did suck, then by any means, badmouth it when you do like your final review. Go ahead. But until then, you should have a little bit more positively that Horror Nights is going to try to pull this off in a decent way instead of just being like, nah, nah, it's not going to be good. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, that's another thing too. I think once folks see the movie, they will understand and see a lot of parts of it being in a Horror Nights house. If you didn't see Us, I kind of understand a certain factor for that, because I had that same feeling when the movie Evil Dead came out, the Evil Dead remake. I particularly didn't enjoy the film, didn't like it. I like some of the horror parts, but not overall. I didn't care too much for it. And then came the house at Halloween Horror Nights. I really dug the house. I loved the house. I went through it multiple times. I even took the unmasking tour throughout the house. I really actually liked the house so much, it almost made me want to go back and watch the movie over again. But yeah, I didn't do that. I just never went back to rewatch the movie. But it actually did make me really think that I liked the movie again. So yeah, so all I'm saying is give it a chance. See the movie. If you still don't like it, wait till you go through the house. You might end up loving it. It might end up being one of your top 3 houses at this Halloween Horror Nights this year. Might not be, but you won't know until you go through the maze. So now is going to be the time I put a post out on my Instagram asking you guys to chime in about the Us announcement. So some of you guys said definitely the fun house with the mirrors. I think, yeah, we're going to see that. I think that Get Out or Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone would have been better. Quite interesting. I don't quite know about the Twilight Zone. Get Out. It's hard for me to say if that would be a full featured house. I think definitely like a double feature with Jordan Peele would have been good. The soundtrack is what I really bring this house together. I can't wait. I agree. HHN dog. On the fence about it, and I'm looking forward to the fun house and the underground scares. Yes, believe the underground's going to be where it's at. Theme park attic. I'm excited to how they do this one, and I think the fun house, again, fun house is going to be everyone's favorite. Losh TV, 7-second murder, aka F the police scene. That would be kind of funny if they probably do like a record skip when it says F the police. That would be funny. The Strange Cellist, the tunnels for sure, and I'm super excited for the house. Mainly the mirrors. Everyone is talking about the fun house and the mirrors. Eddie Entertainment What up? The Fun House, I guess, but this ain't an exciting announcement to me. No hate, though. We'll have to see. Maybe when you go through it, you might say it's one of your all-time favorites. That would be hilarious, though. That is it for all the responses on Us. So I would also say, if you're not the biggest fan of the movie, at least listen to the soundtrack done by, I believe it's Michael something. I'll have a picture of it. But the soundtrack is beautiful. It's haunting. It really pulls you in. So at least the soundtrack is creepy enough. And I think that, along with the Halloween Hornets House, kind of a bonus. It's a double mashup. So I'm speaking to the urban demographic. When you go to the event, at the end, make sure to take the survey. The survey is, I know most people want to just get out of there, but the opinions of us really do matter. Believe it or not, if enough, of the urban community says this is why they came to the event, it will produce results for Horror Nights to maybe look at this in the future. Maybe we'll get another Jordan Peele house or some type of other, urban ethnic sort of horror movies or something like Candyman or something like that. So make sure to take the survey. Yeah, that has been it for this bite-sized micro nugget episode on Halloween Horror Nights, announcing the Us movie into a house or a maze. Not quite sure how that's done. Yeah, that is it for this episode. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to us over on YouTube. It's Zombie Chris. Go ahead and subscribe to us on our podcast, the Zombie Chris podcast. Is pretty much everywhere you listen to podcasts. We usually do a episode every single week, so we're gonna have a announcement podcast on the Graveyard games that came out. I'm going to be talking all about that and any more announcements we have in the future. So that has been it for this Zombie Chris podcast. If you want to reach me over on Instagram and Twitter, it's simply Zombie CT. Not from Connecticut. That's a running joke. Yeah, just reach me over there, Zombie CT. And until the next episode, thank you guys. And be sure to write a review if you're listening to this over on iTunes. Helps us out, helps us get some kind of coverage and seen. So thank you guys. And until next time, adios. Zombie Chris, out of here.